How are you, pupils? I would like to welcome you for today's lesson. My name is Teacher Dawson. So prepare your materials where you are for continuation of our lesson where we ended last week. If you remember, last week we learned about the large-scale resistance. Particularly, we learned about the Maji War. That is one of the African resistance against the Germans in Tanganyika. We learned why this war was fought, the reasons behind the effect, and why Africans were defeated. But today, I would like to welcome you for another segment and the continuation, examples of large-scale resistance in Africa. And particularly, we are going to start with this one, Shona and Ndebele resistance, particularly the southern part of Africa. Now, Shona and Ndebele resistance, or uprising or war. Now, Shona and Ndebele, as you know, Shona and Ndebele, these are tribes which are found in the present country called Zimbabwe. But that time, during colonial time, it was known as Southern Rhodesia. So this was the war organized the Shona and Ndebele against the British rule, particularly the white settlers in Zimbabwe. And also, this war was fought from 1896 to 1897. And the leader and the organizer of this resistance was known as Chief Lobengula. Though there were other leaders, but the famous one is this one known as Chief Lobengula. So Shona and Ndebele, as you know, this Shona and Ndebele are tribes of Zimbabwe. Tribes of Zimbabwe, present country known as Southern, by that time it was called Southern Rhodesia. So this one, they organized together and they fought against the British. Fought against the British rule. From 1896 to 1897, between these years. And remember, Shona and Ndebele War, it is also called the Chimurenga War. Chimurenga War. The other name of this resistance is also known as Chimurenga War. So Chimurenga War did the same. This one is Shona and Ndebele. The organizer or leader of this resistance or war was called Chief Lobengula. Chief Lobengula. This was the organizer of this resistance, Chief Lobengula. Though there were others like Mtoko, Makoni, to mention a few, etc. But the one and only is Chief Lobengula. Chief Lobengula. Now, the causes. What were the causes of this resistance? Why? The reason behind. Because there are a number of reasons which contributed the Shona and Ndebele to wage the war against the British rule, against the white settlers in Zimbabwe. Now, these were as follows: taxation. First, taxes which were imposed into the Shona and Ndebele, they were against within. That's why they reacted. Outbreak of rinderpest disease. Rinderpest disease, which affected their fertile land, their crops, as well as their cattle. Land alienation. The fertile land which was taken by the white settlers, and the Shona and Ndebele was basically fertile land. That's why they decided to fight in order to regain their fertile land. So all of these were the reasons for this resistance to happen in present country called Zimbabwe. But as you know that this was the resistance, it was the war. As at the end of this war, Jordan and Ndebele were defeated, and they lost in the battle, and then the British won. Now, what's happened after the end of this war? The British won the war, and they continued to colonize Zimbabwe up to 1980, when Zimbabwe got her independence. That is about Shona and Ndebele resistance for the present country called Zimbabwe, under the leadership of Chief Rubengura from 1896 to 1897. The other name of this war is also called Chimulenga. Another large-scale resistance, we have this in Nama and Helelo. Nama and Helelo resistance. Now, Nama and Helelo resistance, it was also one of the largest scale resistance which took place southern part of Tanganyika, particularly in Namibia. By that time it was called Southwest Africa. So Nama and Helelo, these are tribes which are found in Namibia. They fought against the Germans rule. Germans invasion there in Namibia. And this resistance took place from 1904 to 1907 under the leadership of Henry Witbooi of Nama, as well as Samuel Maherero of Herero tribe. So Nama and Helelo resistance. Nama and Helelo are tribes of Namibia, present country called Namibia. But that time during colonial time it was called Southwest Africa. Southwest. Sometimes they do ask this. So these are tribes of Namibia, and they fought. Nama and Helelo fought against the Germans. The Germans ruled in Namibia. The Germans ruled in Namibia, specifically from 1904 to 1907. Almost for 3 years, from 1904 to 1907. The leaders, the following were the leaders, the organizer, the leaders, organizers were as follows. Now, for the side of the Nama, and the leader of Nama was known as Henry Witbooi. Henry Witbooi. This was the leader of Nama. Herero leader was known as Samuel Maherero. So these were two notable leaders of Nama and the Helelo resistance, which took place in Namibia against the Germans' rule. The main reason why, the many reasons, causes of this resistance. Why Nama and Helelo, they organized together to fight against the Germans' occupation of their land. Now the many causes were as follows. One, land alienation. The Germans took fertile land from the Nama and Helelo, that's why they wanted to get back so as they can continue their agricultural activities. But also the nature of the Germans, and the Germans were so cruel. So the cruelty or the harshness of the Germans posed another problem to them. That's why they decided to fight against them. But also the Germans, they confiscated, confiscation of their cattle. They confiscated the cattle. And that's why they decided to fight it, so as to remove all of these injustice, oppressions which were there or initiated by the Germans there in Namibia. But at the end of the war, Nama and Herero against the Germans won the war, the resistance, and the Nama and Herero were defeated. And this one, eventually this country was put under the Germans' rule from that time until 1918, when the Germans' rule ended there in Namibia. So after the end of the war, the Germans won. That is about Nama and Herero resistance, which took place in the present country called Namibia, Southwest Africa. And we have seen the leaders, the year, as well as the reasons for the emergency. Now, we have another example of large scale. This is known as Mau Mau War. Mau Mau War, rebellion, resistance, Mau Mau War. Now, Mau Mau War, this was the rebellion, uprising, which took place in Kenya from 1952 to 1960. And it was fought in Kenya against the British white settlers in that country. The active areas were Rift Valley areas, Abeldare areas, as well as this Mount Kenya. Notable tribes participated were Kikuyu, Meru, Kamba, as well as Maasai. Though it was a general resistance, these participated actively. So it was the rebellion, Mau Mau War. This one, it was a rebellion which took place in Kenya. It was against the British white settlers, in Kenya. So this was voting, the Africans voting against the British white settlers there. And this war started from 1952 to 1960. And notable areas or active areas of this resistance or war, active areas were Abeldare, Rift Valley, Mount Kenya, and others. And the active tribes participated in this rebellion. Active tribes participated were Kikuyu, Meru, Kamba, and Maasai. The leaders or organizers of this resistance, the leaders were as follows. 1, Dedan Kimathi. This was the chief organizer and leader of this resistance, Dedan Kimathi. Another one was called Waluhiu Itote. Waluhiu Itote, who was nicknamed General China. General China. General China. Another one was the first president of the Republic of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta. So these were the leaders of Mau Mau rebellion which took place in Kenya. But the notable and the chief organizer of this resistance was Dedan Kimathi. Now, many people died during this war. Many people died. Destruction of properties, both Africans and the white properties. But at the end, Dedan Kimathi was captured and imprisoned at Kilifi Maximum Prison. And this one, eventually this rebellion sped up Kenyan independence, and which was later achieved in 1963. So during this war, Africans lost the battle. The British continued to rule Kenya until the independence, 1963. Now this one marked the end of this resistance. Now we have another resistance which took place in West Africa. This is known as Samori Toure resistance. Samori Toure resistance. Now Samori Toure resistance, this Samori Toure was he was a chief of Mandinka people. Chief of Mandinka people, present country called Guinea. Present country called Guinea. So he fought against the French. Fought against the French for a long time, from 1891 to 1898. And he managed to defeat them. Why? Because he was a wealth leader. He had a strong army, which was called the Sophist. But also he fought jihad's war, Holy Islamic war. Jihads. So he used this jihad's war as the way of converting non-Muslim believers to be a Muslim. That's why he managed to defeat the French for a long time. As well as he fought guerrilla tactics. All of these were the reasons why Samori Toure fought for a long time against the French. So all of these were the reasons why. But at the end, 1893, Samori Toure was defeated by the French, and the French continued to rule them. So all of these were examples of large-scale resistance which took place in various parts in the continent of Africa. Sini, Mau Mau, Nama and Herero resistance, Shona and the resistance, just this one. So I would like to end up there due to time factor. Make sure you revise, you compare, you make a revision from what you have learned for the next lesson. I would like to end up there, so please, we shall meet next lesson. Goodbye.